Welcome back to the Next Level Sega fans with me, Dan the Mega Driver, and my good friend, James, the Sega. How you doing, mate?
I'm buzzing, mate. I'm absolutely buzzing.
Yeah, buzzing isn't the word. So this is an extra special Sega Guys video because last night Sega dropped a literal bomb on us. And God, so excited with this piece of news, James. Where to begin? I think just it felt like it came out of nowhere. We knew Sega were brewing something, but we didn't quite think it would be not one, not two, not three, not four, but five and more games.
And more. I mean, I think the fact that Invite had went out to, fighting game creators, so the buzz that created was that it was going to be Virtua Fighter 6. And I
Yeah,
think, we had seen the kind of the Jet Set Radio screenshot, the leak, and people kind of dismissed it as being fake, and it kind of went away for a while. But I got up this morning and there was a message from you, and I seen the link and it was Sega, and I'm like, they've done something. They've done something. I was like, and lo and behold, my God, what a trailer! And we're going to kind of go through it and talk about it. But oh man,
yeah.
the
No, I
the,
saw
the,
this. You go on.
the feel good vibes, mate. The feel good vibes, amazing.
Yeah, I saw Sega was trying to like the old waking up Limmy in the morning. I still like rolled over, looked at my phone, just saw Sega was trending. I was like, okay. I was like, and I just saw new. Obviously, we'll get into the trailer in a sec, but yeah, absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, shall we? We'll play the trailer and we'll pause it, and then we'll talk about each of the reveal because there's several, and we'll
Yes,
talk about what we see. So we'll get that going now. And this bit's quite interesting. There's not too. You can see the Shinobi cab in the background.
yeah,
The Jet Set Radio decals on the skateboard. Bit
yeah,
disappointed they weren't using Sega controllers here, but you hear the sonic rings.
yeah. I mean, you do kind of clock the arcade cabinet in the background,
Yeah,
but it's not instantly clear what it is. Like the Dreamcast logo on the bottom of the skateboard as well. There,
yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
yeah. And you see like the golden axe. Like straight away, you can't put them all together. Obviously, the Shinobi cap kicks off in the background.
Yeah, I mean the
What?
fact as well that you get the skateboard for Jet Set Radio, you've got the gloves there from obviously Streets of Rage. You've
Yeah.
got Gillius's helmet from Golden Axe. You're starting to put it together now.
Now this looks like the most complete game. So this is obviously the new Jet Set Radio. And I think
Yep.
this looks like the one that was furthest in development. Obviously, the one that, as you say, mate, this was leaked. This looks absolutely phenomenal. I know there's been a lot of talk about Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which looks great. I've not played it myself, but this looks like the real deal, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think as well that if you look at the timelines between Bomb Rush Cyberpunk and coming out and being developed, you've got to wonder if whoever it is at Sega, if it's been outsourced to a Western developer or if it's a Japanese developer doing it, we don't know yet. But you've got to wonder what they've been thinking, seeing Bomb Rush Cyberpunk coming out, having the original composer for the music for the original Jet Set Radio games working on that, and in the meantime, they're doing this in the background. But just look at the environments. I mean, that's like Tokyo To, but just ramped up to another
Yeah,
level. It looks astounding. Look at the size of the graffiti tag there on the ground. The the mechanics on the movement of the character as well for grinding along the rails and the various parts of the environment just looks absolutely amazing.
yeah. I mean, him doing the handstand there as a sort of movement that you didn't have in the original games.
No,
I do love that you can see the spray cans. I wonder if they're the collectible ones there, or that's just kind of a nod to the old games. Suppose it remains to be seen. But yeah, the way he flips over there, the scale of the city, it's not quite fully, cell shaded, but I'm loving the art style here, and I'm loving the new
yeah,
design of Beat.
yeah. It's kind of almost they've went beyond shells, the cell shading. It looks animated.
Yeah,
It's like modern day kind of animation style you would get there, but it looks absolutely stunning. The city's not populated yet. You can see there's a few cars, parked in the bottom corner there. You've got to imagine if you even think back to Jet Set Radio Future, how densely populated those streets were.
yeah,
I think as time goes on in development, you'll see these streets getting packed out. You'll be busting through crowds, you'll be getting abuse off people, shoved back, things like that. You can take what you've seen in the past and kind of apply it to that, and you just know you're going to get that here.
yeah, yeah. I do think that it's probably gonna. you know, embody what we saw in Jet Set Radio Future. I do think that it does, like you say, it is anime style. That you can see the line work on his jacket there. I think it really does look like, the modern Dragon Ball games. Of course, there was a new Dragon Ball game announced, and that the art style there looks kind of similar to this. It looks you got some of the population there as well.
Yeah.
It just looks absolutely phenomenal, mate.
Yeah, and the new design of Beat as well is again very modernised, and I'm loving the kind of the yellow skate lines, the kind of the almost the kind of the kinetic energy coming off of his skates as well as he's
Yeah.
grinding along the rails. Absolutely brilliant.
Well, they're powered by lithium powered metro batteries or whatever it is that he says in the intro. And I think it's just about to show us there he is.
There's a
I
man.
love his design in this. He's gone through 3 makeovers now. Obviously, there's the original one, and he looked very different in future. And I love this design in this one. It looks absolutely sensational, and I like the font up here. That looks really cool as well.
Aye, modernised, and also as well, I'm loving the fact that it's Jet Set Radio. We're getting the original name.
Yeah.
Now I don't imagine it's going to get rebranded. And the States to Jet Grind Radio this time, but it's interesting as well. There's no now. Obviously, this is Professor. He's in his he's in his he's in his kind of studio, his underground pirate radio area, and the radio station's called Jet Set Radio. But I'm just wondering if that is possibly like the new logo, or is it just going to be called Jet Set Radio? Is it a reboot? Is it going to be a sequel? Is it the third game, or is it just going to be called Jet Set Radio? Is it a break from the past? Are we starting over fresh? But the art style here is beautiful. The professor looks amazing. He's kind of, it's like he's finished his shift and he's went straight to the underground studio to broadcast. But looks great. Looks absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, love all the little details of guitar up there, the TV screens. He's got his decks there. It's brilliant, mate. It looks sensational. And then we don't get much time to dwell on that because it's straight into blink and you miss it. You get straight into Axel.
Yes. There he is.
There he is. And that's one of the signal, like P signal, R signal character, like bad guys that you get in the original Streets of Rage games. You can see the mohawk there. So this is an interesting one. Because obviously the style of Axel was not quite the in Streets of Rage 4 he's got his beard, he's got his proper dad bod going on in there, isn't he? He's definitely a relatable physique in that. But here he looks a bit more trim. He's got his kind of Terry Bogard, jacket from Garou Mark of the Wolves. So it seems to take some inspiration from that. But the gameplay here looks quite interesting. So that you like the hip motions look quite chunky, and then he kind of mounts a character at the end, doesn't it? Again, another Streets of Rage 2 character there. I think you've got Garcia on there that he's kind of ground pounding. But,
it's like he's almost been speared. It's like looking at like Edge, spearing him to the ground and then pummeling him. But my first thought for this was it looks almost like Streets of Rage meets Power Stone.
Yeah.
Because I'm not seeing, now again, it could just be the fact that it is early development footage and, we don't know how you've come to this area, if it's just a tech demo, etc. But the whole kind of 3D isometric, if you get crates there, you would imagine those could possibly be picked up, used as weapons. There'll be classic Streets of Rage style. There'll be things inside those, probably knives, baseball bats, the usual, a bit of chicken to replenish your energy. But that it's definitely an interesting look. Now, we've all spoken about Fighting Force, the whole Streets of Rage 4 that never was on the Saturn. So this is kind of very much reminding me of that as well. We're going to that kind of full 3D environment, but again, the dynamic looks great on it. Kind of that grungy, kind of underground, gang-riddled streets just looks great. The neon lights, the graffiti on the walls. Aye. And as you say, Axel's got that whole, kind of Terry Bogard, the kind of the Garou Mark of the Wolves look about him. He's back to his best, mate. He's hit the gym.
Yes.
That's it. That's it. He's hit the gym, mate.
Yeah, yeah, I had exactly the same thoughts, mate. Of course, definitely Fighting Force came to mind on this one in the way that the characters move about. Um, I don't think that's the best thing. We just come out of Streets of Rage 4 was a few years ago now, but that was incredibly well received and that was very akin to the older games. I don't know if Fighting Force would translate as well. Obviously, Fighting Force was interesting, but it wasn't quite Streets of Rage level.
Mm.
I would like it if it's more Dynamite Decker, Die Hard Arcade, or Dynamite Cop style,
Yep.
which it could be. That used arenas like this, had the items laying around that you could. I mean, you could pick up anything in Dynamite Cop, or Dynamite Decker 2 on the Dreamcast. Couldn't you hit people with a
A broom.
swordfish?
Swordfish.
Yeah, you can pick up all sorts in the second one. Bit of a face-off here, so you got to imagine that there's some two-player co-op going on. Again, I think it might be online if there is co-op on this one. The look of it didn't suggest that there's local play because the camera was very much focused on Axel throughout it. But yeah, it'd be a shame if it's not local play. But these are. I think the thing to take away from these are very modern takes on the series.
Yep.
But yeah, no, interesting that one, and then it's straight into because we've got that new era and this one, and we're going to be talking about an interview that hasn't come to light yet, have we? Because Saturn Dave immediately came out, and you said it to me as well. This is what Sega Lord X said was kind of on his wish list.
Yeah. It's not sure if I'm allowed to say. Obviously, when Dave's mentioned that he recorded with Mel at the weekend, but that was the recording we did with Mel last week, myself, and Saturn Dave, and towards the end of that kind of chat, Mel was asked what kind of franchises would he like to see brought back, and he said he would love to see a modern take on Shinobi, but with Okami style visuals. What is that?
I know.
That's what that is. It's like, I mean, he's the most influential Sega YouTuber. I mean, maybe it's not come out yet, but I mean, I don't know if they've heard somehow, but it's just for that to come out days after Mel had said that is crazy. It looks amazing. The fact that they've kept it on the kind of the 2D plane, the side scrolling, but with kind of 3D elements to the backgrounds and even the foreground, you've got the kind of fence at the bottom there. You can see the depth on that platform because you've got the fences at either side. Just looks absolutely amazing. Again, anime style. Just as you see it moving, it's just the combat looks great. Very kind of his dog in there as well at one point. The kind of the shadow dancer influences on there as well.
Yep.
Look at that! Look at that!
And again, no Kami vibes with that.
Oh, it's massive Okami vibes right there, isn't it? That's
absolutely.
Amazing.
It's beautiful looking. Did remind me a lot, especially the bit in the second when there's the jumping of the 3DS Shinobi game, which is pretty decent as well. I can't imagine this is going to be kind of a full price game or even kind of a £50 Sonic Superstars game. I imagine this is going to be, almost kind of indie level sort of online game. But do it reminds me an awful lot of the Strider reboot that came out and the Bionic Commando games Capcom did that turned into like Metroidvanias. And obviously Shinobi did do Metroidvania style games on the Game Gear. And this would kind of be an expansion on that. So I think that'd be really cool. This one, I think.
Look at the lights. Look at you've got the kind of the god rays coming down there. The light from the lantern is actually shining on his leg and his torso there as well. So that's just again setting the scene absolute gorgeous, taking that kind of anime vibe again, and just modernizing Shinobi. Just look at it.
I know.
Yeah, I can't wait for these. Honestly,
no, it says here that it's early development, but this looks already extremely polished.
I would play that right now. Not a problem.
I think Streets of Rage definitely looks like it's in early development, but this and Jet Set Radio look pretty almost fully formed. And if they're going to get better than this, then wow.
Aye, exactly. They're looking great so far.
Yeah, and I think it finishes off with this boss battle, which is kind of that reminded me of the kind of the boss at the end of stage 1 in Revenge of Shinobi. A little bit, just the way that there's the stance and the way that he's holding the sword.
Yeah.
And almost the statues in the background, to be honest. But God, really harking back to the Mega Drive era here. And then You barely get a chance to breathe, man. It's straight into the next one. And the Gilius rolling out the way, and Tyrus flaring. This is Golden Axe. And I think you said on this one, this is Golden Axe does get God of War.
Yeah, Golden Axe went. It's like it's kind of God of War slash kind of the Lord of the Rings games as well. It's kind of
Yeah.
giving me those kind of vibes. But this is really interesting because if I was going to pick from Shinobi and Golden Axe to be put into 3D, I'd have went probably Shinobi would have been the direction, because you're thinking maybe like a Ghost of Tsushima style vibe with Shinobi, not as story driven, obviously, but you've still got that kind of that vibe to it, that kind of samurai ninja kind of thing. But they've kept Shinobi true to its roots. But this is interesting because you've obviously got all the characters come into view at one point.
Yeah, I think it's in this scene, isn't it?
You just kind of is, yep.
Yeah, just go for like literally a frame.
Yep, there he is.
Yeah,
You've got pretty much the barbarian as well coming on.
Yeah.
So it's just you've got to think, is this going to be like maybe 4-player online? That you're going to be able to, pick a character each, go through it. Interesting how they're going to flesh the story out to make it, last over these many levels. Are they going to flesh it out with a story? But it looks great. Again, just really interesting though that they've decided to make Golden Axe into a third-person 3D game.
Yeah, no, the Golden Axe couldn't really have really deep lore. I mean, there was 2 or 3 strips in Sonic the Comic back in the 90s. Obviously, there was a trilogy of games, and then we got the RPGs, or the action RPGs, that were Golden Axe Warrior on the Master System, and then Axe Battler, Legend of Golden Axe on the Game Gear. So there's lore that they can build around it. Yeah, it's interesting that they chose Shinobi to be the one that's 2D and Golden Axe to be the one that's 3D. Shinobi's, I think, shown with the PS2 game Shinobi and God, is it Kenichi? Or but there's the 2 Shinobi games in PS2 which are pretty decent games. Whereas Golden Axe, meanwhile, it had the Beast Rider, which was a bit of a mess. It's hard. This one's probably the most controversial one, I think. But from what we see in a few seconds of footage, it looks solid. Now it's unclear here whether it's definitely over the shoulder. Whether the player character is Tyrus here or Axe here, we're going for the over the shoulder Gears of War, God of War perspective, aren't we?
Yeah.
Tried and true, whether it's God of War, Last of Us, Gears of War, Resident Evil, they all do it. Whether it's going to be that sort of game, whether this is got some sort of multiplayer, remains to be seen. A God of War game where you control all 3 characters and can switch between them would be great. If it's a God of War sort of Gears of War sort of game, do you imagine playing this online on your PS5, Xbox Series, and PC? Playing it online like Gears co-op, that could be amazing as well. The dodge that we saw Gilius do, and then Tyrus obviously throwing the fireball, and this whole sequence here suggests that and then obviously riding the beast there, and then you've got the actual that bit there, the combat where he's fighting the 2 guys. The combat looks pretty decent, I think, and I think that would probably translate well to that sort of game.
Aye, the kind of the free ranger movement that you've got there to move round. Again, it's going to be interesting. It does lean towards, I think it is going to be some kind of 4-player, online co-op, whether they're going to throw anything else into the mix. And maybe, I don't know, you mentioned like Gears of War style multiplayer. Are you going to have like maps that you can have multiplayer, like versus battles with the various characters? Yeah, I don't know, but it's interesting. It's good. This is one that you're right. It's probably the most controversial one. The complete shift to a totally new dynamic for the game and for the franchise. But it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out.
Yeah, because they've tried a few things with Golden Axe. Obviously, they did Beast Rider. They did the Golden Axe, if you remember, that they gave away on Steam, which was the game that was, and that tried to stay true to its roots, but and that was quite well received by the community. But it was shuttered for some reason. It's good to see Golden Axe back. Let's hope it's a new Breath of Life for the series, and not another Beast Rider. So fingers crossed for that one. And then we're finishing off with one of your favourites, mate. But we start off with a view of a police car, and I think when you said Golden Axe is Golden Axe meets God and War, I said that Crazy Taxi is Crazy Taxi meets Need for Speed Hot Pursuit.
Aye, because while you can just see some passengers in the back of that kind of cab that's just in front of the police car there, as the gameplay goes on, you do see that you seem to be controlling the police cars as well. Now,
Yeah,
there you go. So there's no passenger in that, and you're quite clearly seeing that police car chasing those cabs.
yeah,
So again, I think Crazy Taxi in its original form is timeless. I've said that before. I think Crazy Taxi on Dreamcast is a product of its time. It captures the kind of 99, 2000 vibe perfectly, and that's difficult to bottle. Crazy Taxi 2 and 3 showed that. They were really inferior, but what I think Sega have done here is realised that, because this looks like a completely new take again, like with Golden Axe. They've kind of went, right, what can we do different? So if you're bringing passengers into it, but you're also bringing chase elements into it and bringing the police into it. I mean, you've got to remember the way you're driving about this city with passengers. It's a wonder. It's a wonder the police never chased you at
yeah. I
some
know.
point. So it's a natural progression to have the police turning up. But yeah, again, it's got that kind of pseudo anime kind of almost like the kind of like a Pixar or Illumination style, 3D animation look about it. But again, it's going to be interesting to see what exactly they've brought in. The city, again, it's not looking massively populated, but then
Yeah,
again, some areas of the city in Crazy Taxi weren't. Other areas were more challenging than others. But aye, it's going to be interesting to see what part the police play. And obviously, you get to go the police because that's the player.
yeah. It's going to be interesting to see if it's kind of a campaign. Imagine, it being a modern game, there'll be a story to it,
Mm-hmm.
and whether you get to play both sides of the campaign. I think the feeling I get here is again one of multiplayer. I feel like there's kind of cat and mouse. You'll have two players playing taxis, and you'll have a player playing the police car. But yeah, I thought exactly the same thing, mate. It's like you had Crazy Taxi and the two sequels, and the two sequels didn't really add a lot. And as you say, they
No.
felt inferior because from a design perspective, they try to overcomplicate things.
Mm-hmm.
I think in terms of kind of the design of what we see in here, if we kirk it back to where we see the gameplay, it's not. You've got the jump there, but everything seems to be more in line with kind of the design of Crazy Taxi, the original.
Yeah.
You kind of got that San Francisco feel there with the way that the hills are coming down on the roads, but you haven't got anything that's going to require you to do a kind of a crazy hop or anything like that. It really looks more like a kind of enhancement of what the original game had. But if you're going to be driving a cab like this, well, of course you're going to attract the police.
Exactly. And it would be interesting to see as well if the police come into play, just in terms if there is like a classic mode where you pick up passengers, and we've seen there we had is it Nina doing our pickup as well earlier on, and her taxi's she's quite recognisable there as well as she's there.
Yeah, there she is.
So that's her classic taxi, the stripes at the left hand side there. She's got a passenger. You've got to think that would be brilliant to add that in.
Yeah,
That maybe your fare is higher if you dodge the police. They're just bringing, as you say, Need for Speed and Crazy Taxi into one and seeing how it goes. But I'm excited for this one. I'm hoping. I think they had to do that to bring Crazy Taxi forward to the modern day, and instead of trying to kind of redo what was done in the past and try and recapture something that's very, very difficult to do with a product of its time like Crazy Taxi is. This looks like they've really took the time to think, right, what can we do to mix it up? So bringing the old cops in, be interesting to see, mate. I'm excited for this one.
yeah. I think that's true for all of these. Is they've all added something. Obviously, Jet Set Radio seems the most true to the original design ethos from a gameplay perspective. But all of these seem to have come in like. I mean, we've got 3 Mega Drive games, which are 25 to 30, well, they're 30 years old, both of them. In fact, yeah, Streets of Rage, Shinobi, and Golden Axe, all over 30 years old. Shinobi, we're getting on to 30, over 35. But you've got the Dreamcast games, which are over 20 years old. And I think they've all been reworked. These aren't just kind of rehashes. These are bringing them back from modern audiences. The old sexy 515, that is her. I remember the sexy part, 515, that is her number plate, isn't it?
Yep, yep. Aye, so they're staying true to the source material anyway, as you would hope.
Yeah, and then I think you see Axel later on, don't you? Just for a brief frame, because this is kind of like the kind of the outro. There he is. I knew he was in here somewhere.
Yep. His classic Hawaiian shirt on.
Yeah. And yeah, that right there, that looks like just the original game, but the
Yep.
just so clear. Again, his number plate there, unmistakable. This is 100% him. You know that everyone else is wearing new threads, but Axel is still dressing like it's Hawaii 50.
That's it. He's the Steve Jobs of Crazy Taxi, mate. He's got a uniform. Steve Jobs had a black turtleneck. Axel's got his Hawaiian shirt, mate. So, aye, it's him. It's his license plate. It's his cab. It's got the fins at the back. It's unmistakably Axel. And as you say, that looks nigh on identical to that kind of what you call the start finish
Yeah,
straight on Crazy Taxi at the top of the hill, where you start and where you come back round to after the university whenever you do the lap round the city. So again, staying very true to the source, but bringing it forward, modernising it. And I think that's the kind of thing that excites me most about this trailer is that we've all wondered since Sega got out of hardware, like, what would it be like to have Sega as an active console manufacturer making modern versions of their own games in the modern day? What if they never went away?
yeah,
This is the closest. This felt like almost like a console unveil. This is a new system. These are the games you're going to play on day one. Boom, boom, boom. It's kind of sad in a way because you're seeing what this is what we've always wanted to see, but grateful on the other hand that they seem to be listening. This has been in the works for some time, and it's exciting. And the other thing, mate, is and more.
yeah.
So, are we going to see some Sega Saturn titles?
Well, if we go through to the end of the day, we see the sizzle reel of everything else, and it looks power the next level. And then yeah, you've got the. I've gone past it, haven't I? I got too excited watching the reveals and more
Yep,
now in development. So they're all in development. You've got to imagine that Virtua Fighter 6 is in there in the
has
and
to
more.
be.
I think that's unmistakable. The amount of noise around after. I mean, if you think that Virtua Fighter 5 came out 2006, and
Thanks.
then we had the iterative. We had Final Showdown on consoles 2012, but it obviously iterated in between, and then nothing until Ultimate Showdown, which was 2022, I think,
Maybe a bit before that, mate,
or
because
2021.
we got given codes for a giveaway for that.
Yeah,
And that was a while ago, so that was longer than last year. In fact, that was before we came onto YouTube, mate. So it might even been 2021 for that one.
it might have been, but then yeah, that's still a gap of 9 years between that. But then since then, we've obviously had Final Showdown. We've had Virtua Fighter 3 TB coming to Infinite Wealth. We've also had the announcement of Virtua Fighter 3 TB coming into arcades. You know, there's noise around Virtua Fighter now, but that's got to be next. But mate, it's absolutely buzzing for all of these.
Oh,
Um, they look incredible. At the very least, even the ones that where you think, well, that's an interesting design choice. They look at least interesting.
mhm. And that's the thing as well that's exciting. It's not remasters, it's not re-releases. They've listened and they've went, we're going to remake these franchises for a modern audience, but paying enough of a homage to the originals that it keeps the old fans coming in. So
Yeah,
if they play as well as they look, obviously it's early footage. You don't want to be kind of singing the praises too highly. You've still
yeah,
got to play them, but given what we've waited so long for, we've all waited so long for as Sega fans, is for them finally to recognise the classic IPs.
yeah,
So, as Saturn Dave said on X, can we have Clockwork Knight, please?
yeah. New Clockwork Knight, new Panzer Dragoon.
Yes.
I was going to say New Nights into Dreams, but I don't know if they'll be able to do that justice. But New Comic Zone.
There's a film for Comic Zone, so you've got to think they're going to tie
Yeah,
that in somehow. So that's a good shout. I think Comic Zone. And again, can you imagine? Look what they've done with Jet Set Radio, that kind
yeah,
of comic book anime style. You imagine bringing Comic Zone into the modern day, what they
yeah.
could do with it. Oh my God. Can't
Amazing,
wait,
mate.
mate. Can't wait.
Amazing. And they cap this off brilliantly at the end. As I say, they've got the sizzle reel heel, power the next level, and then you hear this bit at the end. Where is he? Absolutely perfect. But mate,
Brilliant.
yeah, extremely excited about these. But yeah, I think we'll leave it there and just put it out to you guys, our viewers, and everyone in the community. What do you think about these? Are you as excited as James and I are? Sure, you must be. But obviously, stay tuned to the channel for further developments. We'll be covering all of these with the news as and when it happens. If you want to catch us on here in the comments below, give us a like or a subscribe. If you want to catch us on X, you can find me at super_D. You can find James at the Segaholic. You can find the account at the Sega Guys. Until next time, we will see you on the Sega side. Sega!
Yo, yo. Did you save the game?
Really? Of course I did.